Hi, and welcome. Welcome here today to Living and Loving Each Day, Bridging Barriers. My name is Susan Jansen, and each week we explore the transformative power of resilience, healing, and self discovery. And if you're ready to tackle life's toughest challenges and turn trauma into triumph, you're in the right place. And I'm thrilled today to have my beautiful guest, Dr. Michelle Montero. And I love your name. Michelle is a licensed clinical psychologist and founder of the Alchemy Performance Consulting LLC. And in her work as a clinical psychologist, and I just need you to know, Michelle, that my whole family are psychologists. So I feel very comfortable with you here today. This is great.
I love
But
that.
her
Yeah.
yeah, in her work as a clinical psychologist and sports psychology consultant, she works with a large variety of clients and athletes with different concerns, including identity, mood and anxiety disorders, trauma, as well as sports injury and rehab, and performance as well. And finally, athletic career transitions, too. That's interesting. So she uses holistic, collaborative, trauma informed, empowerment, and strength based approach in both the clinical and the sport related settings. So, Dr. Montero currently has certifications in traumatic stress studies. And my favorite part, I think, especially today, is that she is a women's mental health specialist. So, I am thrilled to have you here today. Dr. Michelle, thank you so much for being here. And I think what we're going to kind of tackle in, and after we hear about, I want to know more about you. First of all, I want to hear your story. And then I really do want to talk about the women's issues and the women um, ageism kind of comes up for me. And that's an area
Mhm.
you are an expert in. So let's tackle that after. But please let everybody know more about you and yeah, share your story.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. So my story, gosh, where should we start? Um,
That's a
so
loading.
my story, exactly, it's a loaded question, so I'll try to keep it succinct. But as you mentioned, like I'm a clinical psychologist, and I also work with athletes. In my line of work, it's um, I work with so many different types of people, and in my career, I have been in many different, like, I guess you could say, industries or working with different populations. So um, when I first started out, actually, before I was even a psychologist, which is will help inform our discussion later today, is I started out as a caregiver in assisted living facilities. So I thought that starting out, I was young, I was in my teens, I wanted to be in the helping profession, and I was just kind of like, how do I do this? And while all my friends were getting jobs as servers and bussers at restaurants, I applied and was a caregiver at an assisted living facility, and really did that for pretty much from, I mean, I don't remember exactly. I would say I was probably 18 at the time, give or take. From 18, and then I did the caregiving off and on through undergrad, grad school, and then actually after my master's, when I wasn't able to be licensed in Illinois, where I am, I'm in Chicago. I ran an assisted living facility and memory care unit, I guess, for quite some time. So working with the elderly is, in all honesty, people wouldn't know that now because my work looks so different. But um, the aging is by far one of my, like, I love working with the elderly, and we're all going to age. So it's important work, and it's very invisible work. But after
Mhm.
that, I went on, I got my doctorate. I've worked all over the place. I worked with Mothers Against Drunk Driving in a victim advocate role. I've worked for a lot of years in college counseling centers. I've worked with athletic departments and teams. And then here in the last, like, the better part of a decade, I've been in my own private practice. And currently, like I have definitely worked in different populations, more concentrated at certain times, and then I kind of learn a little bit and I move on to something else, and still but continue to keep that same type of clientele. And I really have been focusing on, like, women's issues and marginalized groups, and just in one-on-one, you do a lot of really good work one-on-one. But sorry, we have a guest here. His
That's
name's
okay.
Murray. He wants to be on the show. Um, but So behind closed doors, one-on-one, I'm working with people on that one-on-one relationship. And then I do a lot of workshops and public speaking where I can do psychoeducation on these really important clinical topics. And you just reach more people at one time. So that's kind of what brings me here today and doing interviews on podcasts and stuff.
Well, this is so good to have you here. I know my husband is a clinical psychologist, and he was associate dean in the educational faculty of U of A, University of Alberta.
Oh,
So,
nice. Okay, that's right. I forgot you're in Canada.
yeah, we're in Canada, and that's so I really understand. And then my granddaughter has caregivers all the time because she has cerebral palsy. She had near SIDS when
Mm.
she was 8. What is she doing?
Oh my gosh.
Does your kitty
It's time
need
to go. He's chewing on the microphone cord.
Oh, that's okay. It's too funny. And so that's why this is such a good match for us, because my granddaughter also she had near SIDS at 8 weeks old. So
Oh gosh.
was my daughter found her blue in the crib, and the wonderful news is she was revived, but the
Yeah.
lack of oxygen to the occipital lobe and parietal lobe part of her brain. So she has cortical vision impairment and cerebral palsy. But
Yeah.
she's now 12, and she's at school. She's a thriver, and so funny. It makes me laugh every day. And so we have that experience of caregivers, and a lot of my audience
Hmm.
are parents of children with adaptive needs, and
Hmm.
also and so yeah. So this is just a nice. I love it when things kind of fit together really nice.
Yeah.
So can we tackle the women's thing? What's the biggest thing that you've encountered that you find is a mainly a concern, or things that are coming up for you more lately? As us baby, when you're not a baby boomer, I'm sure you are not, but I am.
I'm
So as
I'm an exennial.
you're there, you go, there you go. And
That's what
so
I'm told. So
it's exennial, not millennial.
yeah, I guess it's what I've been told by the millennials is that I am an exennial where I'm on the cusp of Gen X and like the millennial. So they,
Ooh,
I guess, Brangelina that name together.
that's great. So what have you
Mhm.
found? Anything? Are you maybe in your care homes? You might have seen this more. When I think about ageism, I'm thinking about people who are vibrant, who are smart,
Mhm.
and they're entrepreneurs. They have so much to share and a lot of wisdom,
Mhm.
and yet they're
Mhm.
overlooked. Or
Absolutely.
yeah,
Go ahead.
no, or they're in transition, because I noticed that one of your things was
Yeah.
transition, but I'm sure that's from
Yeah.
an athletic role
Well,
to
from really all, right? Like so when a lot of the things that I do with athletes, there is very specific sport performance. And I can do a little bit of that, but I do more of the clinical side and how that affects performance. But so a lot of the issues are very similar, right? Like there's transition, there's identity transition. There so what you're speaking to is women, okay, marginalized group here, already sort of overlooked in the larger, scope. And then you have the intersection of uh, an aging woman. And so, define aging, right? I mean, I'm 45. To some, I'm ancient. To others, I'm a wee babe, right?
yeah,
Like, but I think what we see oftentimes is in the aging population, that is we live in a very young culture
yeah,
where, media, we're really interested in youth and stopping aging. And so when people are aging, what you're speaking to is like being vibrant and having great ideas and all of this stuff. Suddenly they start to become in our society a bit irrelevant or in the shadows. And, different industries, you may see that occur sooner than others.
yeah.
I imagine being an actress is different than maybe being a pediatric nurse or whatever.
Mhm.
But it happens across all planes. And so then you have women and a woman that is aging. And so that is an intersection again, and just the unique experience of kind of being erased from
Mhm.
the current world. people look at you, I hear clients say like, oh, I just feel like my comments are not as valued, or people aren't looking to hear what I have to say. They think that the things that I have to say are obsolete at this point, and that they're really, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess a lack of a better phrase is like trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? And that's tough, and it doesn't feel good at a minimum.
For sure, for sure. And like you said, I think in different areas, I think I'm a Jill of all trades, because I tend to poke my toe in a lot of areas, and I am a professional
Hmm.
singer. I was a professional singer for 20 years, and now I sing occasionally, but I do sing with a big band. So there's me and 19 guys, in the big band, but
Yeah.
I'm just the singer. I'm just this, like, when you're in a big band, your place though.
Never say just.
I know,
You
I
are the
know.
singer.
I am the sing. I'm the
I
sing.
am the singer amongst 19 men.
Exactly.
Bam.
But that's something that I'm doing at my age. I'm 71. So for
Hmm.
me, but the
Yeah.
good for me, I use my voice, and I'm not stopped. Like, I haven't rested it ever. I've never stopped
Yeah.
singing, really. So for me, I feel like my voice is fine, and I don't sound, because if you don't use your voice, you do, kind of
You lose
lose
it.
the tone of it. So thank heavens, I'm still singing, I'm gigging, and it's really, really super fun for me.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then I'm also a real estate agent up here in Alberta, Canada, and anticipating a lot of people coming up to Canada. I don't know. I'm just saying.
What
Um,
makes you say that?
I have
I
no idea.
kid.
I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there, probably. But so it's interesting that I feel like I understand, when the
Hmm.
women,
Yeah.
when we're still really capable, and we're
Hmm.
still vibrant, like I said, and knowledgeable about things, but you do get passed over quicker. I
Yeah.
noticed, and I've never noticed that before. I think up until now, I'm looking my age, I guess, but up until
Hmm.
now, I've always looked younger than I was, so it
Hmm.
never happened to me. So, but
Yeah. I
yeah.
hear that a lot where where people say, and in my own way, right? Like, so you're 71, I'm 45. Once upon a time, clients would think that I was a student at the university. And for a long time, I could kind of get away with that. And now they look at me more like, I mean, I'm still the therapist, right? But at times they look at me like, "Oh, you're a big sister." And I think it's because I'm like, I'm young, I'm short, I'm like not intimidating, um, young looking. I don't know, but I see that it's changing, right? Like my role is changing. My niece and nephew will say things like, "Oh my gosh, how old are you?" You're like, "What?" And so it kind of sneaks up on you.
Yes.
I remember one client that I had years ago who was maybe like 75, middle to late 70s, and she said, I never really noticed it until all of a sudden it was all around me. And then one day I looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize the person in the mirror. And she was like, inside, I knew exactly, like, I know what I look like. And it was this young, vibrant, photo from her 30s or whatever. And she's like, the world sees me as this. I walk around in the world as this photo, and there's such a discrepancy. But
Yeah.
you made a comment like, we're still here, we're still, I forget exactly what you said,
Well,
saying
well,
smart things,
yeah, vibrant and worthwhile. I mean, there's
vibrant and worthwhile. And it is, right? I mean, like, there I want to help women of all ages, and certainly women that are aging, to continue to feel comfortable and confident in themselves,
Mhm.
to value what they say, to speak up, because you are vibrant and you are worthwhile. And one of the things that I learned as a caregiver, I feel like it's a very unique experience, is, while my friends were hanging out with like other servers, hostesses, bartenders at the restaurant, I'm hanging out with like 80 and 90-year-olds. And um, I just learned so much about life
Mm,
and so much wisdom. And the messages that I heard from some of the individuals that I worked with and really felt like were kind of my friends was, wow, I learned some really good lessons that were important, that take many people 90 years to learn. And I still have to learn them on my own. But hearing that from somebody that was like, don't sweat the small stuff. And this is really what I mean by that. So much wisdom in what people have to say. Why wouldn't we want to listen to that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think, and that's probably why you do so well in your profession now, because I think that you gleaned that from them, and
Hmm.
you heard. You can be listening, but you don't hear. What they're saying.
Yes. Yes.
So I think that you were one of those really unique people that really did listen and took that to
Yeah.
heart. So good for you on that. And then that makes you just so much more approachable and willing to share with you, to have your clients share with you. So
Hmm.
that's perfect. So
Yeah.
is there anything like special in that ageism kind of category? Is there
Hmm.
anything that we can do to mitigate like how we're feeling about this, or do we just not take it personally, or how can we reframe that?
Yeah. Well, I think that like not taking it personally, that I get stuck on that all the time because it is personal, right? Like it isn't and it is. Both are true.
Right.
And I think it takes some self-awareness to be aware of that, right? Like, wow, this person that maybe made this insensitive, uninformed comment about me or whomever, um, maybe it wasn't, they don't know me, so it wasn't personal. And yet it is because that's you. Like we're all human and we feel that. So both of those things are true. And I feel like when we can speak out about those kinds of things and just inform people about what it is like and how our words land and matter, some people are not going to listen to it, right? And others will. There will be plenty that do. And I think across all bands, the thing that I always speak to and encourage and remind myself as is like to not isolate, because when you isolate and aging becomes isolating, and especially the elder of the oldest of the old, for many reasons. But I think, breaking the isolation, helping others that maybe, uh, helping others break free from isolation, validating the experience, and then speaking out when you hear somebody make an uninformed or ignorant comment. The easiest thing to do is if somebody is saying something and it's kind of like a joke, we don't need to get defensive, right? But we can say, "Oh, what did you mean by that?" And
Yeah.
like let that person kind of struggle to answer it because
Okay.
that is from their perspective.
Right.
Let them do that work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's hard not to get defensive, but I totally agree.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's the smart way to do it, to just make it more aware for the other person too.
Hmm.
That's a good lesson, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, and I understand about the isolation, and I'm noticing that it's where you just don't want to bother. It's like
Hmm.
too much bother to make a change, to do something else, or it's a mental attitude, I guess, really. Like
Hmm.
there's courses here at the University of Alberta, what's called Lifelong Learners Association,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
there's some people in there that just are just sponging up all of this really great information, and they're loving it.
Hmm.
But there's others who, nah, I don't want to. They honestly,
Yeah.
it's not that they can't, but they choose to say, no, I'd just rather stay home and do what I do here and be
Yeah.
comfortable in my space. So I guess it's
Yeah.
being aware again of what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Absolutely. And just that there are differences, right? Like some people, maybe that is really what they want to do, and that's okay.
Yeah.
What are the reasons though, right? Like some people are isolating because they don't have a resource to get out and about, or they feel uncomfortable, or they feel again like people are going to not look at them. One of my favorite, I shouldn't say favorite things, but like walk in any airport and you'll see individuals in the wheelchairs from the airport, and the individuals, I don't know what they call them, that kind of like wheel people around.
Like porters or
Oftentimes,
something, kind of like
yes,
porters. Yeah.
yeah, and like oftentimes, I was just in the Puerto Rican airport, Puerto Rico, yeah, a couple of weeks ago, and then Chicago, and it's like no matter where you go, there, and along different areas, there's always like elderly or aging or individuals with different, challenges, kind of left alone, and no, everyone just like walking by them, and it's invisible, right? Like, so I think just kind of like being aware and attending, like people are there, people are around. if somebody, just being self-aware. And if you want to be out and about, let's do it. Let's find ways to break down those barriers.
Yeah, exactly. And actually just speaking, like taking the moment just to
Yeah.
say, hey, how's it going? And what you need anything? Or
Hmm.
if they say no, of course, leave them alone. Like, I mean, you don't want
Right.
to, you don't want to disrespect them that way, but we can always do things for ourselves
Hmm.
as aging, women. And just by keeping
Hmm.
that dialogue open, I love what you said about that. Just make a comment without being defensive. So, okay,
Hmm.
that's, yeah. And then there's
Yeah.
and then we could reach out for people, and some of the best wisdom that you hear are from people that have
Hmm.
experienced life and they understand.
Hmm. Yeah.
So okay, well, anything like amazing that you want to share with the audience just before we close, just to plant the seed for us to be better at this.
Anything amazing? I think people are amazing. I think I don't know that I have anything necessarily amazing to say, but something simple and like lead with curiosity. Like go talk to people your age, talk to people not your age, and listen to what they have to say because it's really interesting. And I think people are pretty incredible, and we feel better when we're connected. So, keep connecting.
Keep connecting. That's huge, and that's a great way to end. Our thank you so much, Dr. Michelle
Thank
Montero.
you.
You've been a beautiful guest. Thank you so much for being with us today. And if anybody, don't forget to look in the program notes, the program description, because all her information will be there. And if you want to be in touch with her, because what a great resource to have. I value you, and you're lovely guest. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today, all the way from Chicago. And yeah, I really appreciate you. So everybody, thank you so much for joining in today. If you go to suejansen.ca, it's scrolling along the bottom there forever. That's where we can chat and we can make a connection. And if you'd like to be on the podcast or have more questions that you want answered and have experts that help you with that, just let me know. And I'm always here for you for that. So everybody have a wonderful day. Dr. Michelle Montero, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate
Thank
you very
you.
much. Thank you, everybody. Bye.